about the word strength, just one of the dictionaries. There's many different definitions. But here's one from the dictionary. It says state or quality of being physically or mentally strong. Power of exerting or withstanding pressure, stress, force, potency, effectiveness. So I'd like to discuss some things from this, expand out from this. And we'd like to extend this definition. It mentions physically or mentally strong. But I would like to add to that, because materialistic people don't really know much beyond the senses of the body and the mind, but we know also there's another energy of intelligence, buddhi. I think materialistic people, they sort of lump the mind and intelligence together, but Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita explains that they're different energies, like in the 7th chapter. Bhumirapo nalovayu kammano buddhivacha. So mano means mind and buddhi means intelligence. So intelligence is a potency also. So there's 8 different potencies there. Krishna explains his separated material potencies. So they've got the physical strength, the mental strength, which they've put in their definition, but also I'd like to say intellectual strength. And then, of course, what they don't know about also is spiritual strength. Spiritual strength, because we know there's different aspects of our being. The body, of course, like in Sanskrit, the word for self is Atma. So Atma can refer to the body. Atma can refer to the mind. Atma can refer to the intelligence. And Atma can refer to the soul. Normally, we would use the context of the soul. The Atma is the soul. But also we have, the bodily self, the mental self, intellectual self, spiritual self. So there's different components of our being. And also in this definition, it mentions that strength is a potency. So potency means like energy. So we would agree with that strength is a potency, it's an energy. And where does the question is, well, where does the potency come from? Where does strength come from? Now in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 10th chapter, text 36, Sattvam Sattvatam Aham, that I am the strength of the strong. So Krishna says there that the energy of strength is Krishna. So that, as we know, Krishna is non-different from his energies. Krishna has multifarious energies. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaya Shriyate, in one of the Upanishads, is saying that he has multifarious energies. And these energies carry out everything for him. Like Krishna doesn't have to run around and do a lot of hard work. What do we see Krishna doing? Is Krishna running around doing a lot of hard work? When we go to a temple, what is he doing? I'll give you a clue. He's just enjoying, right? He's playing on his flute. He's just playing with the cowherd boys and the cows in the spiritual world, the cowherd girls. He's just enjoying playing. But all the different work is being carried out automatically by his Parasya Shaktir Vividhaya Shriyate. That he has Swabhavaki, Jnana, Bala, Kriya, Cha. That's the last line of that verse. And interestingly, it's got that word in there, Bala. Bala means strength. So he has Swabhavaki, that means they're automatically going on. He doesn't have to do anything. It's just automatically these energies are functioning in the spiritual world and the material world. And like it's mentioned, he has the potency of jnana, knowledge. So he has different energies of knowledge, carrying out different functions, and he has potencies of bala, strength, carrying out different things, and kriya, activities. So all the actions are automatically carried out by his different energies. Like it said that Krishna doesn't need to come to the material world to kill demons. Why is that? Krishna doesn't need to come to this material world to kill the demons, because his different energies can just kill the demons easily. You know, we see like Durga, Mother Nature, is so powerful. She can just arrange some hurricane or tsunami or tidal wave or earthquake or some famine or drought or pestilence or something like that, or a demon has a heart attack. Like, I'll give you an example. One time, you know, we know, I just finished reading my Guru Maharaj's book, Guru Raj Swami's book, called about Juhu, the Juhu temple, building of the Juhu temple. And there was one big demon called Mr. N, Mr. Nair. And he was physically very strong. He was a physically very strong man. And also mentally, intellectually, everything, he was very strong. He used to be the chief of police of Bombay. And he ran a major newspaper in Bombay. So he had a lot of power. He had a lot of power in Bombay. And he sold the land supposedly to the devotees to build the Juhu temple. And Prabhupada quickly installed Radha Rasa Bihari there. But he had a plan to take the land back and keep the money. So there was a lot of difficulty there, a lot of obstacles that Prabhupada and the devotees faced there over many years. Actually, Prabhupada said spent more time in Juhu. We know the time from 1965 went to America to 1977 he left. Those 12 years, he spent more time in Juhu than anywhere else on the planet. So there was a lot happening there in Juhu. Trying to get that property was very important for Prabhupada. So he spent a lot of time there. And this demon was presenting so many obstacles. But eventually the devotees came through. They were successful. They were successful, and Mr. Nair wasn't. Actually, at one point, my guru was walking down the street and he saw the headlines for a newspaper that was at the side of the road saying, Mr. Nair is dead. And then he grabbed that article and had a look. He actually had a heart attack while he was walking on the street. And that was very unusual because, like I said, he was a very strong man. He was very strong. And everyone was surprised that he just suddenly died. He's just walking on the street and he collapsed and died. And so Prabhupada was in New Zealand, believe it or not, at that time that he died. And Bali Madan had rung Prabhupada in New Zealand from Bombay and told the devotee there that tell Prabhupada that Mr. N is dead. And Prabhupada was getting a massage at that time in Auckland, and Shruti Kirti came into the room and said, Prabhupada, Mr. Nair is dead. And Prabhupada immediately put his hands in the air and said, Jai! Nrsingadev has killed him. So that the Lord has so many different energies. He doesn't need to do any hard work himself. He's got so many energies that carry out. So then if he's not coming to the material world to kill demons because his energies will do it, then why does he come? Actually, the main reason why he comes, I mean, it says, Paritranaya Shadunam vinashaya dushkatam, that he does come to annihilate the demons, but that's secondary. The main reason why he comes is to have loving relationships with his devotees, that paritranaya sadhunam, to relish, the relationships with his loving devotees, the sadhus. And by freeing them from the demons, the suffering caused about by the demons, their love for him just grows, exponentially. It just goes through the roof when Krishna rescues them from the suffering of from the demons. So Krishna's main thing he's after is just loving relationships. But otherwise, everything else he's not interested in anything else. And just his energies carry out everything. So Krishna has so much strength. And in the purport to that verse in the Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter, where he says that he's the strength, the strong, Prabhupada says there, among the strong, he is the strongest. When Krishna was present on earth, no one could surpass him in strength. Even in his childhood, he lifted Govardhan Hill. So that's one example Prabhupada gives to evidence how Krishna is the strongest person, that he lifted Govardhan Hill. I mean, who else can compare, especially the age of 7 years, with a little finger of his left hand, he lifted the great mountain for 7 days. And if you've been to Govardhan Hill, it's not a small hill. It's very big. It takes about, 5 hours at least to walk around it. And 5,000 years ago, it was much bigger. We know that one sage cursed Govardhan Hill to reduce every day by a mustard seed, every day like that. So it's dwindling in size. It was much bigger 5,000 years ago. So anyway, it was a exhibition of extraordinary strength. So Krishna is the source of everyone's strength. So whoever, even like Mr. Nair, the demon, where did his strength come from? It came from Krishna. So the same as everyone else. So whoever is exhibiting some kind of quality or ability or potency or anything, they're all coming from Krishna. Krishna is the source of it all. So we want to tap into that. We want to tap into that because we need strength, isn't it, to do our different activities. To do devotional service requires strength, and to overcome, as it's mentioned in this definition, withstanding pressure. That's also an indication of strength, the ability to withstand pressure and stress, like that. So there's some negative things also, not just positively, we need some strength to lift something, to carry something, to push something like that, but also to withstand some negative things, like the last couple of years, right? I don't know why, if that's one of the reasons why you've chosen this topic, which is very appropriate actually for this particular point in time, which we're all being put under a lot of pressure and stress. So this is a time where we need strength to be able to withstand these different, maybe negative forces that are there. We've seen the last couple of years, right, that sometimes our freedom has been taken away, like to go to a temple, to go to festivals. I know one year, isn't it? The night before Krishna Janmashtami, the government said, okay, lockdown. So the devotees couldn't celebrate Janmashtami. At Auckland, I remember they did so many preparations and everything, got the boga and started cooking and everything. And then the night before Janmashtami, they told you can't do it. So, that creates a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, like that, a lot of difficulties. So how do we handle these things? How do we deal? So we need some strength. And so it's more than just physical strength we need, but mental, intellectual, spiritual, like that. So there's different levels. So because devotees, they take shelter of the source of all the strength, take shelter of Krishna, then they may get extra strength than what ordinarily people get. I mean, like I said, everyone is getting strength from Krishna. You can't get out of bed. Not even the non-devotee can get out of bed in the morning and go out and do his work unless Krishna is giving him some strength. So Krishna doesn't just give strength only to the devotees, but he gives it to everyone. You know, of course, we know, you know, elephants have great strength, and tigers and so forth have great physical strength. But there's some special strength that devotees can get from Krishna that non-devotees don't get, that the animals don't get. So we want to look at that. What is that strength that we can get from Krishna exclusively that others don't get? Of course, devotees can get physical strength from Krishna as well. I mean, just look at Madhvacharya. You know, he's in our sampradaya, like regarded as one of the main establishing acharyas in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya sampradaya. So Madhvacharya is in our sampradaya, and it said he was an incarnation, I think, of Vayu and Bhima and like that, different personalities, very strong personalities, and said he would like fight with tigers. He would just physically grab a tiger and like throw it somewhere and do all kind of things, or he would just travel at the speed of the wind somewhere. And so he had great physical strength and abilities. And as well, we know he was intellectually very strong, that he could defeat Mayavadi's intellectual arguments and like that. So physically, mentally, spiritually, everything is there. He's strong on all levels. And even if we look, you know, very relevant to us, Prabhupada. I mean, how is it possible? Has anyone ever thought of this? 70-year-old man is like so active, you know, traveling, or left India for the first time, 70 years old, traveled all around the world, traveled, I think, 10 times around the world in 12 years, wrote 70 books. You know, during the night when we're sleeping, he was up, you know, giving us this knowledge, and then he would be active during the day. He slept only about 3.5 hours a day. If you look right at the end, 1977, he didn't even eat. He wasn't even eating. But what was he? Was he not? Well, he just didn't have the strength to do anything. No, he was still giving us the Srimad Bhāgavatam. If you look, you know, the 10th canto, chapter 13, like that, was the last chapter Prabhupada gave in the 10th canto in 1977 in November in Vrindavan, that he was flat on his back on the bed in Krishna Balaram Mandir in his room, and he's speaking into the dictaphone, and he hadn't slept, hadn't eaten anything for like days and weeks, and he's just skin and bones, but he has some Shakti, some potency, some strength that he's able to give, you know, this amazing, clear, you know, knowledge to us. And it wasn't like the rantings of some, you know, drugged up, you know, ignorant person. He was just as sharp as ever, as sharp as ever. And if you read that last chapter that Prabhupada dictated when he wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, and he was just living off that, you know, spiritual strength that Krishna was given him, that spiritual strength, it's just perfect. You would never think that the quality of those last chapters of Bhagavatam was any less than any of the other books that he'd written. There was the same amount of potency there. The Ayurvedic doctor said that the condition of Prabhupada's body, the skin was touching the bones. There was no flesh in between. The doctor said that the nerve endings were all exposed, and an ordinary person would be screaming in agony. But the fact that Prabhupada, not only was he not screaming, but he was giving this just amazing knowledge of the Bhagavat for all of us, is just incredible. What amazing Shakti or strength he was getting, and we know that's coming from Krishna. So devotees can tap into some great strength, but particularly we're looking at what strength we can get from the Bhagavad Gita. So we want to focus on just one. So we're getting, what of the four things, the bodily strength, mental strength, intellectual strength, spiritual strength, what would you say would be the main one we'd be getting from Bhagavad Gita? Anyone has any ideas? What strength are we getting out of those four categories? Physical, mental, intellectual, or spiritual? Anyone has any thoughts?
I think it's a spiritual strength. I think they're most important to know.
Spiritual strength, okay. Okay, thank you, Guru. Anyone else?
I would say intellectual strength, because it's broadening your understanding of philosophy.
Okay, very nice, very nice. My wife from downstairs says all of it. So I'll read you something from the second canto, 7th chapter, text 18 purport, which I found interesting. It says here, the Bhagavad Gita primarily deals with the intelligence of man, leading one to the progressive path of civilization of the spirit soul. So dealing primarily with the intelligence of man, leading to the spirit soul, leading to the spirit soul. So I'll explain where the Bhagavad Gita is really helping us, So ordinarily, in material consciousness, what's in control? It's explained that for a materialistic person, the senses are in control. And the senses, they control the mind. And the mind controls the intelligence, and the intelligence controls the soul. That's not good, to have your boss is the senses. Now, for a Krishna conscious person, who's in control of who? So in Krishna consciousness, what it's supposed to be is the soul is in control of the intelligence. And the intelligence is in control of the mind, and the mind is in control of the senses. That's why we say Goswami, right? Swami or Goswami. That Go means senses and Swami means master. So the devotee is supposed to be a master of the senses. If you're not a master of the senses, then what are we? Then we're called Dasa. Then we're called a servant of the senses. And that's not desirable at all, to be a servant of the senses. Rupa Goswami, he explains in one beautiful verse that's inspired me so much, that he says, Kamadinam katina karita palida durnideshas tesam jata maina karunana trapano pashanti utsrejatana tayarapade sampradam labda buddhis tramayata sharanam avayam mamyuksat madasye. Is saying that for so long I have been serving the wicked masters of lust and greed and anger and so forth, being a slave to the senses. And they haven't given me any peace. And I don't have any shame in following their orders, following their undesirable orders. And I don't have any desire to give it up, to give up following the senses. So he explains the horrible situation that we're in, from being a slave to the senses. But then he says, Utsrijaitan, that now I'm able to give it up, to give up being a servant of the senses. How? Because Sampradam Labda Buddhis, that because my intelligence, Buddhi, my intelligence has awakened. My intelligence has awakened. So now the intelligence is become strong enough. When the intelligence becomes strong enough, it can control the mind, and then the mind can control the senses, and then we don't have to follow the dictates of the senses anymore. So this is giving us a clue of how we escape being a slave to the senses. And especially in Kali Yuga, this is a big problem, because there's another verse from one of the acharyas saying, Kala kalir balina indriya vairivaga Shri Bhakti Maga Iyakantaka Kodi Rudha, that in this age of Kali, the senses are very powerful. Bala, balina indriya, that the indriya, the senses, are balina, very strong. So we're talking about strong, right? So, but in Kali Yuga, the senses are very strong. So the question is, how are we going to be more strong than these senses that are so strong in Kali Yuga? And we see that even those rare souls, Manusyanam Sahasresu, you know, it's very rare that someone takes to Krishna consciousness. So, and that's because so many people, they're just absorbed in sense gratification. And very few people take to Krishna consciousness. But even those few people that take to Krishna consciousness, many of them leave Krishna consciousness. Now, why is that? And like Prabhupada said one time, don't be surprised who leaves, but be surprised who stays. So why does he say something like that? Don't be surprised who leaves Krishna consciousness, but be surprised who stays. Because it's very difficult. There's many obstacles. So that verse is saying, Sri Bhakti Marga Iyakantaka Kodi Rudha, that the beautiful path of Bhakti, Sri Bhakti Marga, Iha Kantaka Koti Rudha, is spiked with millions of thorny obstacles. So there's so many obstacles. So many obstacles. Like it's mentioned some of the obstacles in Bhagavad Gita, like for example, Ahankara Vimudatma Kataram Atimanyate in the 3rd chapter. False ego, that's a big obstacle that takes us away from Krishna consciousness, that we get swept up again in the bodily concept of life. False ego is so strong. Millions of lifetimes we've been identifying with the body and the mind and so forth. So false ego, and we can even as a devotee get very proud. You know, I am an advanced devotee. I'm a brahmana. I'm a sannyasi. I'm the temple president. You know, this is all false ego, bodily. But what does Lord Chaitanya say? Naham vitpro nacha narapatir napi vaisho nasrudo naham varni nacha grihapatir napi vaisho nasrudo. He said, I'm not a brahmana, I'm not a kshatriya, I'm not a vaishya, I'm not a sudra, I'm not a brahmachari, I'm not a grihastha, I'm not a vanaprastha, I'm not a sannyasi. I'm a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, who is the maintainer of the gopis. Gopi bhatu parakamalayo dasa dasa anudas. So that's our real ego. But even sometimes we see that false ego is so powerful, we get swept up with the bodily, you know, designation. Sarvapati vaniramuktam tatvarpaina nirmalam. We get caught up with the upadis, even after we join the movement, which are related to the body. You know, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm white, I'm black. You know, sometime Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he had a black body. He went to Prabhupada and said that, I came to this movement, Swamiji, thinking this is a spiritual movement. I've had so much discrimination in my life up till now, and I was thinking, come to this movement, there's not going to be any more of this, hassling me because I'm black and everything like that. But I've had so much hassle from devotees because of my color of my skin. And he was expecting some sympathy from Prabhupada, but he got the shock of his life because he didn't get any sympathy. But Prabhupada said to him, if you're affected by what they say, what makes you any different than them? You get that point? They are seeing that he's black. And if we get affected by them saying to us that, well, you're black and whatever, that means we're on the same ignorant level of consciousness as them. So what Prabhupada said to him just lifted him up to a different plane of thinking, awakened a higher intelligence, beyond the false ego. Another obstacle pointed out in the Bhagavad Gita is laziness. Yudyasya vigata jwara. Jwara, this feverish laziness in the 3rd chapter, text 30, that Krishna tells Arjuna, just get up and fight and give up this lethargy, this laziness. Just fight. Yudyasva vigata jwara. Fight and give up this lethargy of laziness. So that's mode of ignorance, right? So we can still get affected by ignorance and by passion, by so many things. So we need some help, because like I said, the senses are very powerful in Kali Yuga. There's so many obstacles to our Krishna consciousness in Kali Yuga. So we need some special help. So what can help us to overcome the senses is if, as mentioned by Rupa Goswami, we strengthen the intelligence. So how do we do that? How do we strengthen the intelligence? So, and as we just read, that specifically, that's the Bhagavad Gita, is operating on that level of strengthening our intelligence. And if you look at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, it's around 70, I think it is. Yeah, text 70. Krishna says that one who studies the sacred conversation worships me by his intelligence. So that's the last chapter, just one of the final verses. So if you study the Bhagavad Gita, you're worshipping Krishna with your intelligence. So the intelligence is going to become strong. And Krishna says that in one of the seed verses, 10th chapter, text 10, okay, samsarada yuktanam bhajatam pradipurvikam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupiyantate, that whoever constantly serves me with love, I give them the understanding or the buddhi by which they can come to me. So this is what's going to help us to come to Krishna, to go back to Godhead, to get out of this material world and go back to Godhead. We need buddhi. We need buddhi. So Krishna's giving us the clue, like by reading Bhagavad Gita, you can get that clue, how we can progress in Krishna consciousness and go back to Godhead. And he gives us the clue, te samsarada yuktanam. If we yukta, engage in devotional service, sadhata, always, if we constantly, means every day. And interestingly, the acharyas give further explanation on this point and say that when Krishna says always, it doesn't mean it has to be 24 hours a day. If you tell the neophyte devotee like us that you have to serve Krishna 24 hours a day, then we're going to lose hope. We're going to lose hope. We're going to give up. We could serve Krishna for starting out maybe 2 hours a day, and then increase slowly, maybe then 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, like that, so to go up. But if you said to someone, okay, you have to serve 24 hours a day, this guy say, well, that's not possible. That's not practical. I can't do that. So what the acharyas have said is that when it's saying sadata means always, it means every day. And then when we hear that, if you hear that, then yeah, I can do that. I can serve Krishna every day. If you're told you have to serve Krishna 24 hours, otherwise you're not gonna make it, mate. You're not going to make it if you can't do 24 hours, then you're just going to lose hope. But if it's told that, you know, we have to serve Krishna every day, yeah, I can do that. I can manage that. So that criteria is there, that we should serve Krishna every day with as much love as we can. Preti purvikam, with as much love as we can. So one time, Prabhupada arrived at the airport. Prabhupada arrived, and then we might think, well, I don't have any love for Krishna. I also don't fit that criteria. Also, I don't have any love for Krishna. And so one time Prabhupada arrived at the airport, and Shruti Kirti, Prabhupada's servant who was traveling with Prabhupada, saw that all the devotees were like crying, seeing Prabhupada arrive there. They were so ecstatic, falling down on the ground and crying. And probably the only one crying he was feeling was him. He wasn't crying. And later that day, he was massaging Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was face down on the table, and he asked the question, Prabhupada, when we came today, you know, all the devotees were crying, except for me. I feel I don't have any love for you. And then there was complete silence for some moments. And then Prabhupada said, do you like serving me? And Shruti Kirti said, yes, Prabhupada, very much. And Prabhupada said, that is love. So even if you feel, well, you know, I chant Hare Krishna and tears don't come from my eyes, which they should, ideally, that's what it said. It says in the Bhagavatam that if you chant Hare Krishna and tears don't come from your eyes, then your heart is steel framed, according to Bhagavatam. But here we're hearing from Prabhupada that, you know, that this is also love, that we enjoy, that we like doing our devotional service. Otherwise, why would we do it, right? Because put up your hands if you're being paid to chant Hare Krishna. If you're being paid to read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, you do your prasad distribution, how much are you getting paid? You know? Like Ambarish Prabhu, how much are they paying you for distributing prasadam? You know, like that. So then maybe there's not much love, but you know, you're doing it voluntarily. Why? Has anyone got a gun to your head? Come on, you have to chant your rounds today, otherwise I'm going to shoot you. No, there's no one's forcing you. It's not a business transaction. There's actually some feeling in your heart that you want to do it, that you like to chant. You know, you want to chant. You like to distribute prasadam. You want to distribute prasadam. So there is some feeling there towards Krishna, towards the spiritual master, towards the devotees, where you actually, from your heart, you want to serve. So that's the seed of love. So, and if we do that, if we serve Krishna every day with as much love as we can, then Krishna is saying he's going to give us the buddhi. So the buddhi is going to come from Krishna. So we apply the buddhi that we are given by God to try to understand God. You see, our intelligence comes from God, right? Krishna says that. So the intelligence buddhi is one of his energies. So we're applying one of Krishna's energies, buddhi, intelligence, to try to understand Krishna. And if you do that, Krishna gives you more buddhi. Do you get that? He'll give you more intelligence. It's God-given intelligence anyway. And if we use it for Krishna, then Krishna gives us more. And he gives us a very special intelligence. This is not the intelligence that the materialists get from Krishna. how to build a nuclear bomb, how to build, tunnels under the earth and big bridges and incredibly tall skyscrapers and planes that fly in the air. So this is all buddhi. This is all intelligence also given by God, how to manipulate the material energy and everything like that, how to make more money. Bill Gates, how did he become so rich? With some intelligence given by Krishna like that. But it's not spiritual. It's not the ultimate, because ultimately it's going to lead to suffering and repeated birth and death and everything like that. But the devotee gets very special intelligence from Krishna. Mam upayantate, how to come to Krishna, how to go back home, back to Godhead. So this is what we want to really find from the Bhagavad Gita, is this intellectual strength, which is, according to Rupa Goswami, what's going to help us to get free from the slavery of the senses, which is what this process of sense gratification, what keeps us, suffering in the material world, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, birth, death, old age, and disease, because of this cycle of, being so lusty for enjoying the body, pleasing. And I'll just finish off with the final verse from the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Evam bodhe param bodva samstabhyatmanamatma jahi shatram habaho kama rupa darasadam. The end of the 3rd chapter of the Gita talks about lust. Arjuna asks, well, what forces it causes one to do something against his will? And Krishna says, kama esa krodha esa rajaguna samudbhava. It's only lust, this desire to please the senses, that keeps us, that's our number one enemy, that keeps us entangled in the material world. And it's said there that one of the things lust does, it covers over our knowledge. It covers over the buddhi. It covers over our knowledge. And it's also, the other symptom is that it's never satisfied. It doesn't matter how much you satisfy the senses, they're never satisfied. You make $1 million, they want $2 million. You make $2 million, they want $5 million. It's never, you have one woman, you want another woman. You have some food, you want more food. So the senses are never satisfied. And it covers over our knowledge, the knowledge of that I'm a soul, that I'm a servant of Krishna, I come from the spiritual world. So that knowledge gets covered over by this lust to please the senses. And the final verse, and then Krishna says, where is the lust? Because if you want to get rid of an enemy, you have to know where the enemy is. Indriyani manobudhir asyadastana muchite. That it's in the senses. Lust is in the senses. It's in the mana, the mind, the buddhi. It's in the intelligence. So the intelligence is also overcome by lust and the mind. So then in the final verse, Krishna says that thus knowing oneself to be superior to the material mind, senses, mind, intelligence, one should, with spiritual strength, and Prabhupada in brackets puts Krishna consciousness, conquer this enemy known as lust. So that's using that word that we're looking at today, spiritual strength, which Prabhupada says spiritual strength, Krishna consciousness, using that spiritual strength, Krishna consciousness, knowing oneself to be superior to the senses, mind, and intelligence, one should, with spiritual strength, Krishna consciousness, conquer this enemy known as lust. So this is the knowledge we need. And this knowledge, where are you going to get the knowledge from? Did you get it from your, most of us get it from our parents or our school teachers or the library or the university or anything. Krishna Samarpan got it from his parents because his parent is Ambarish. But most of us, I didn't get this spiritual knowledge from my parents. So, but where we get it from is Bhagavad Gita. And, even the parent, where does the parent, if the parent's a devotee, where does the parent get the knowledge from? It's from the Bhagavad Gita. you know, like that. So this Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So the Guru is speaking and the Sadhu is speaking, but what is it based on? It's based on the Shastra. It's based on the Shastra. You know, so that's the foundation of the knowledge, is the Shastra, and Bhagavad Gita is the basis of the Shastra. So that's giving us the knowledge how we can conquer this enemies of the senses and lust, and without that strength, it's not possible. Prabhupada was always encouraging the devotees to read his books. He said, you can just chant Hare Krishna, but you know, it's risky because some obstacle comes and then you may fall down. But if you become intellectually very strong through good understanding of the philosophy, that will help to protect us from Maya. And Maya is very powerful, extremely powerful. So Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments or any questions?
Hare Krishna, Abhay Charan Prabhu. Very nice class. Very good realizations. We had, I thought on the subject as to we should have one common subject for the guest speakers, so we can have different angles of thoughts from different speakers.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I can see that in my heart, that need, and it is coming reality. And today you very nicely mentioned about the, the lust and the strength that we get from the Bhagavad Gita, and how the importance of reading, understanding, and implementing in our lives of the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. It's very nice, always very inspiring. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
Now, this is a chance for any one of you or all of you to ask your questions on the topic what Prabhuji has given a class today. Please feel free. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vaishnav Prabhu. Thank you very much for your very nice class. It was very insightful, and there were a lot of things to learn. I have a question, Prabhuji. What would you say has been a challenge in which you've had to look at Bhagavad Gita as a source of strength over the last few years or over any period of time that particularly sticks out to you?
That's a very nice question. Yeah, I'm personally, I've found what inspires me a lot and helps me to overcome different obstacles is learning verses. I really like to learn verses, and I find in times of difficulty I can pull up a verse to mind that's relevant to the particular thing I'm going through. Like in the 18th chapter, text 58, Krishna says there, Matchata Savadogani Mat Prasada Trishasi Ata Chaitwam Mahankarana Shoshasi Vanakshasi. He says, being conscious of me, you can overcome all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. However, if by your false ego you forget me, you will be lost. So like that, whenever I get some obstacle, I try to remember verses like that and try to keep my consciousness fixed on Krishna, knowing that can help me overcome the particular problem. Like recently I've gone through quite a big health crisis. Last couple of months I was very sick physically and was in hospital for about 2 weeks with a burst appendix. And it turned out to be a blessing, because I got a lot of time to read Prabhupada's books. And that made me very sober, and took my mind off the material trials and tribulations, and just realizing that Sarva Karana Karanam, that Krishna is the cause of all causes. So he's ultimately, behind this arrangement. Because it was material, and for my mind, it was a real bummer. It couldn't have happened at a worse time, I was thinking, because we just started out a 3-month tour, like Ambarish mentioned, to go around and teach cooking classes. So I'd arranged all these 26 places through New Zealand to go to and do kirtan and cooking classes and so forth. And we just got 2 weeks into it, and then my health collapsed. And I was feeling I let all the people down. So mentally I was feeling a bit upset, that I've let all these people down. They'll be disappointed. So many people will be disappointed and like that. But then I remembered that verse, that I just said, of being conscious of Krishna, we can overcome all these things. And then quickly my mind became steady again, and I got free from these negative kind of feelings and things like that, depressive kind of feelings, and that helped me to feel better. And in fact, now that I am feeling better, through Facebook, I connected up with these people again and said, I'm, what happened, and now I'm feeling better, and I'm thinking of coming and doing the tour, finishing the tour in the summertime. And people are so excited, and they said, we'll wait for you. We're not giving up on you. We'll wait for you. Don't worry. Just come when you're ready. And I was thinking maybe they'll just give up and not be interested anymore. But Krishna has arranged that they still are. And then I was thinking, well, and some friends of mine said, well, it'll be a much better time of year to travel in the summer than you were going to go in the winter. I mean, it's like snow and ice in the South Island, which is where we would have been. So I was thinking, yeah, Krishna's saved us, my wife and I, from being stuck in the snow and the ice in the South Island and being frozen to death. So Krishna knows what's best, and it's just having that faith. Yeah. So yeah, but by taking shelter of the scriptures, like I was reading a lot in the hospital, and which I hadn't done, a lot, because I was so, physically busy with preaching activities, and that I hadn't been reading so much, and that had sort of weakened, I think, my intelligence a bit. But then, Krishna forced me. That was his mercy, forcing me back to take shelter of the scriptures. Even now coming back home, I've been reading a lot, and it's raining outside, so I can't do much gardening, which I normally was doing. So, and, I'm taking advantage of that and doing a lot of reading, and I'm feeling a lot more inspired. And one time Prabhupada said to a devotee that if you're ever feeling a bit depressed or uninspired, just sit down, stay where you are, and just chant Hare Krishna and read, and that will get you charged up again. So this is the source of the Shakti, the Bala. This is where the Bala, the strength, comes from to fight Maya, is this hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam. If we don't do enough Shravanam Kirtanam, there's not going to be any of that Bala, that Shakti to, fight Maya and do what we have to do to get out of this world. So it's very important not to neglect that Shravanam Kirtanam. Hearing and chanting is what gives us the power. And it's what gives us the power. And interestingly, back to that story of Mr. Nair in Juhu, Prabhupada said that, materially, Mr. Nair, he had so much money, we had no money. He had so many friends, we had no friends. He had so much influence and everything like that. So he should have been successful, right? But no, he wasn't. He failed and we were successful. We had no money, no friends, nothing we had. But he said, why were we successful? Because we come together in front of Lord Chaitanya and chant Hare Krishna. And because Lord Chaitanya is pleased that we chant Hare Krishna together, then he made us successful. So that's what we always have to remember, that, you know, our strength, our success, everything comes from our rendering pleasing services to the Lord. And we know what pleased him the most, chanting Hare Krishna, you know, talking about him, you know, like that verse, Matshata Madgata Prana Bodhadhyanta Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tasyantacha Ramantacha 10:9 in the Bhagavad Gita. You know, the thoughts of my devotees dwell in me, their lives are devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another, conversing about me. So this pleases Krishna very much, that devotees get together talking about him like what we're doing now. This is what, you know, gives a lot of happiness to Krishna, that we do like that. And interestingly, one of the richest industrialists in India was asked by some other rich industrialists, why are you so successful? And he gave the formula for his success. Would you like to hear it? How he became so rich. This is the formula for his becoming so wealthy. He said, when I go out to work, my wife stays home and worships the deities. And because the Lord is pleased by her worship, he didn't say his worship, but the Lord is pleased by her worship, therefore I am successful. So he was attributing his success and the industrial workforce was coming from the foundation of his wife at home worshipping the Lord and offering nice flowers and food stuff and incense and, you know, all the elaborate puja and everything that she dedicated to that. And he attributed the downfall of Indian civilization was that instead of the wife staying home and worshipping the Lord, which is what they used to do, then the wife is now going out shopping. So then it's a loss on both sides. So the worship is stopped and the husband's money is getting spent in the mall, you know, so it's a double whammy, a double loss, you know. So that was just an interesting perspective. I think I thought I'd throw that in, but yeah, thank you very much. I hope that was all right.
Yes, thank you very much, Prabhu, for your very nice answer. I hope your physical health is better now.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Okay, awesome. Great to hear. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your nice class in realization. I think we are gone a little over time, but it was very much worth it. Wish we can do more. We'll call you again on a different topic. You know?
Lovely. Once again for inviting us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Was this the Indian businessman talking about is the Birla family? Birla family?
No, I can't remember his name, but it wasn't Birla. No, it was some other big successful industrialist. But yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was Birla.
Somani. Prabhupada used to know them. Somani.
Yeah, I can't really remember the name. I would have remembered if it was Birla, but yeah, no, I can't say for sure. But I can maybe find out where I read it.
Jai. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, thank you very much, wonderful devotees. And we will now continue with our beginners program. Krishnadas, if you can sing Jai Radha Madhu and I mean, it'd be wonderful. Those who are joining us from YouTube, just